Alright, so I'm back with another Range Rover video. This one, we're going to be changing the rear brakes. Now, what this video will cover, changing your rear brake pads, changing your rear rotors, or if you need to change your rear brake sensor wear indicator. We're going to cover all that in this video, so make sure you hang around, see how it goes, and we're going to do it all without having to have a scanner. So you're going to have to set your suspension in the service mode, and you're also going to have to set your rear brakes in the service mode. We can do both of those with that scanner, and I'll show you how. So make sure you watch the whole video. I'd appreciate it. It helps me out. And if you find this useful, hit that like and subscribe button. But getting into it, the tools we're going to use, we're going to have a 1/2 inch breaker bar. I believe this is going to be a 13 deep well, a 15 12-point socket, 1/2 inch ratchet, a 22 for your lug nuts, brake caliper tool to push the piston back in, 13mm wrench, a flathead screwdriver, a T50, you don't have to have the long one, it can be the short socket, a fancy scrub brush, and then of course you'll need your jack stands, some brake cleaner, handy dandy gloves, and some rags. We also will be using our torque wrench, so if you've got one of those, that'd be awesome. Anyways, without making this too long, let's get into it and let's look at setting this up. On a Range Rover, to set your electronic brakes in the service mode without a scanner, what you're going to do is you're going to hold the fuel pedal all the way down to the floor. You're going to come over here, press your park brake switch all the way down, then you're going to turn your ignition switch off while holding the fuel pedal down, and then you're going to turn it back on after about 2 seconds. Then you should hear your brakes, and then you should see it light up yellow up there. Now we've let off the park brake switch and the fuel pedal, and just wait for it. There you go, it's in maintenance mode, so that's how you do it. To take it out, you just reverse the procedure, but you pull up on the switch. To take the park brakes out of maintenance mode, you're simply going to pull up on your park brake switch while holding your fuel pedal all the way to the floor. You're going to turn it off and turn it back on. You should hear it, and we should see the brake lights go away. There you have it. It's out of that mode. We're good to go. Now let's put the suspension in service mode so we can jack it up. Jack mode, lift mode, whatever you want to call it. So to put your Range Rover in jack mode, the suspension or lift mode, so you can lift it with a jack, you're going to turn your hazard lights on, and on your key fob you're going to press your lock or your unlock and then your light button right here. So press them, just hold them, and you just keep holding them, and it'll go all the way up to the service mode, just like that. And now we're ready to jack it up. Alright, so let's look at where you need to jack this stuff at. Now that we got everything ready, it's time to lift it up off the ground. This is a good jack point. This is where I jack it up at. Lift it up, and then we'll put some jack stands under it. And that's how I got my jack stands. So whatever works for you and makes you feel the safest, that's what you should go with. We're going to go ahead and take this dust shield off. Your vehicle may or may not have it, but either way, you've got one little bolt right here, one little nut you'll loosen, one little nut down here. This one's already kind of loose, but we will loosen them and then slide this cover off and out of our way. So if you look right here, this is going to be your brake pad wear indicator. So that's the reason you're watching this video. If your light came on, you'll have to replace this. I'll show you how it works when we get it off, but we're going to just wiggle it out just like that, and we'll set that back out of our way. Now our next step, we're actually going to pry this caliper back. Since this one doesn't have the twist pistons in it, at least that's what I call them, I'm just going to put a screwdriver in there. Just ease it just a little bit, just enough to get it off. Now, you've got some slack. We'll take a 13, and we'll take the bolt out down here, and the bolt right here, and we'll be able to swing this caliper up out of our way, and we'll hang it up. We'll set it up there out of our way for right now, and we'll go get something to secure it there. We're going to remove our brake pads, and they're just going to slide out. Like that. And when you come back on the back side, if I can get you a good shot, we're going to remove this bolt and then this bolt right here, and that's going to be holding your caliper bracket on, and those are going to be 12.15s, I believe. Now, on your caliper bracket, you've got your brake pad brackets right here. That's your brake pad slide in. We're going to pop them off. To do that, you just put a small screwdriver up under them, and they'll come off. You want to clean this area that they seat in very well, and if you don't have new brackets like these, inspect them for wear, clean them up really well, and you can reuse them if they're good. Another thing we want to look at are caliper slides. So this is what your caliper actually slides on, are these bolts right here. So you want to make sure that they move freely. If you've got a caliper that is wearing the brake pad on just one side of the caliper or the rotor, more than likely you've got a frozen pin or a frozen piston. But a lot of times these pins, especially up north, they'll get stuck and it won't allow the caliper to fully release. So make sure they slide nice and pretty. Clean all this up with a wire brush, and then we'll move on to taking the rotor off. To remove the rotor, you'll look right here, you're going to have a T50. Take that out, set it to the side. And if you're lucky, your rotor will come right off. If you're not lucky, take you a dead blow hammer. Give her a few pops, and she'll come off. Now, before we go back with our new rotor, you want to make sure this entire mating area is nice and clean, especially if you live up north where the rust is. Alright, so we can take our handy dandy little brake tool right here. We're just going to ease this brake piston back in until it feels tight. Not super tight, but until it just wants to quit turning. And we'll back the tool off. Move that out of our way. You don't want to breathe this junk in. Gonna set that up there, out of our way, and we'll get ready to put our rotor back on. Let's take your new rotor, line up the beveled edge, beveled hole with where your bolt goes. Slide it up on there. Hand start this bolt. And we will torque that down in a minute. Now we're ready to put our caliper bracket back on. With our caliper bracket nice, clean and dry, we'll put our new hardware in it. You can see how I don't have mine lined up right there. So we'll pull it over. Push it, make sure it's seated all the way. We'll do the same thing on the top side. Pretty self-explanatory. So our caliper bracket will go back on like this, and we'll take our two 15mm 12 points and bolt them back up. Now with our bracket back on, we'll go get the torque wrench and we'll torque the bolts down and get ready to put our brake pads in. Alright. Now, the bolts that do hold your caliper bracket on, Range Rover does say to replace them. It's going to be these bolts here. Now, it's a debated topic. I know a ton of people that never replace these. There's a lot of things you're supposed to replace that people don't. It is what it is. That's up to you. For legality reasons, I'm letting you know. They say replace these, and they torque to 81 foot-pounds. Then once they're torqued to 81 foot-pounds, they go to 120 degrees. After that, if you've got a degree wheel. But I know people who put Loctite on them and tighten them down, but that's up to you. Just putting that information out there. Now we will work on putting our brake pads. Sometimes these aftermarket clips don't fit worth the crap, so just try them out, see what it's like. Those fit pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, but sometimes you catch hell trying to get your brake pads back in there if that's the case. Clean your old ones up, put them back in. You'll be fine as long as they don't have some kind of crazy damage going on with them. But they're on there, so now we're going to take and put our caliper back on, and make sure, pay attention to this caliper, because you don't want to put it on with your lines twisted. I've seen that several times. Right now our line is out of the holder, which isn't a huge deal. Main thing is you don't want to put it on with everything being twisted up. We're going to tilt it up at an angle like this so our electric motor will clear everything, and then we'll swing it down. Then we're going to put our two bolts in and torque those as well. I usually do the top bolt first, just so I have something to hang it with and it's not going to flop out on me. But it's whatever you want to do. So let's take a look real quick at putting our sensor back in. Alright, so on your brake pad wear indicator sensor, It's just a wire. It pushes into your electrical clip right here to hold it, and then I'll take and run it around our mine went blank. Anyways, where you bleed the brakes. Take that, and you can see on the brake pad right there, it's just gonna slide in there. Now, the way this works, when enough of this brake pad, when enough of this brake pad wears down, the sensor will actually touch that rotor and ground out. So your sensor is sitting right here. When the face of this brake pad wears down enough, it'll actually wear into that sensor and it will ground out on the rotor, and that's how the car knows that, hey, your brake pads need to be replaced. So if you ever see that light come on, you've got to replace the sensor, because it actually damages it to make it work, if that makes sense. Anyways, also be sure you should have a metal clip on that sensor. It's right here in our hand. We're going to pop it back on, and we'll pop it in there. So like I said, run around that to keep it from getting caught up in anything. And you'll just push it in until she's nice and snug. And so that's it. You want to make sure everything's nice and snug. We've got our wire ran around our bleeder valve that I couldn't think of earlier. It's snapped in here. And then we've also got our wire and harness snapped back in this holder. Brake hose looks good. It's not kinked up. Everything looks good, so we should be good to go. Put your dust shield back on, and then your tire. But hopefully that helped y'all. If it did, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe if you want to do that, so you can see the next videos I come out with. If you didn't like it, let me know in the comments. If you did like it, let me know. Hell. And if you've got information or tips for other people, put them in the comments as well. See y'all in the next one.